I was just looking at the odds for the Champions Cup, the rugby, and Leinster are basically hot favourites. Like they're 11-4, which is crazy. I think the steal of the bookies is Leicester Tigers. They're 12-1, defending Premiership champions, and they've really been improving. And if you look at their fixtures that they've got I think Ospreys twice and Claremont Verne twice, and I can see Leicester Tigers home and away holding them to very few scores. Very few points, and like defense wins, and I think there's a very good chance that when those group stages are finished, Leicester Tigers will have conceded quite possibly the least amount of points. Uh, like on average, just the way they match up because they're first seed against tier four like Claremont and Ospreys, and I don't see Claremont and Ospreys scoring too many points against them. I think um the Claremont games will both be close and competitive, like but Leicester Tigers will pull away. Um, between like 7 and 10 points in both games. But I don't see them. I'd be shocked if they conceded over 20 points in any game, home or away to Claremont or Ospreys. To be honest, I think it could be a lot lower. And yeah, Steve Borwick could be the man for England. After the World Cup, Eddie Jones, I believe they're looking at his replacements. Baxter's done a good long term job with Exeter, but I feel at the moment like every team has their seasons. They're going through phases. Like you've seen Munster kind of go through a bit of a lull the last few seasons, even though they always do well in the European Cup, and I believe that like you might see a little bit of a Munster resurgence. I see them doing well in this. They've got Toulouse and Northampton home and away. I'm actually giving them 3-1 in that. I reckon they'll split the games with Toulouse. They'll lose away like close and competitive enough. Toulouse probably pull away at the end, and I reckon like Munster will win in by the skin of their teeth at home in Thomond Park against Toulouse. They're capable of that on their day like in Thomond Park. Uh, and then I think they can beat again by the skin of their teeth very narrowly away like Northampton. I think like all these games will be close. All Munster's games. They won't. I don't like. I'd be slightly surprised if there was over like a 10 point margin in any of their games. But like I'm giving them like a 3-1. I think Leinster will get through handily, but I think like Leinster should be in the top three favourites. Like if I was making the odds, I because you have to look at like each of the representatives. Who's the most likely representative from URC? It's Leinster by some margin, because maybe you could argue like one of the finalists from the URC, but you haven't seen them perform in Europe. And but I think I reckon all three South African teams will get into the knockout stages anyway, and those South African teams like the Springbok national team, and you've seen how the teams performed in big games at the URC. Uh, like the Stormers are the favourites out of South African teams, but Stormers are 25-1, and the Bulls and the Sharks are 33-1. I think that's the dark horse still of the tournament. Bulls or Sharks, 33-1. I reckon like I'd be pretty surprised if we didn't see at least one South African team reach the semis. So like the South African teams in Leinster are the URC's best shot. Leicester Tigers and Saracens, I reckon from England. Then like Sale are a little bit below that. That's maybe I'm missing some teams, but that's off the top of my head. And then like France, I think like Racing are a little bit like Exeter. Like a couple of years or so ago, they were both in the final like during the fucking pandemic when like it was weird like with an empty stadium. It's strange, but like things change fast. Like Exeter Chiefs and Wasps and like a Bath were competing for the like in the semi-finals. I can't remember the other time. But look at them now. Like the
Wasps and Bath are in the Challenge Cup, and Exeter, like they finished closer to the Challenge Cup's places than they did to the playoffs. Uh, I think Exeter should get through. Like they should be fancy to get through their group, but I think it's going to be kind of similar, like to what happened with Munster. They're going to be a team. I don't know if they'll meet Munster in the next round, but if they don't come in the top eight standings, they'll have an away game, and their most likely away game is they're going to be away to like someone like the Stormers or like La Rochelle. So and I think that season took so much out of Raj, and I think there will be kind of a honeymoon and grace period from. Like I reckon the big one, obviously you want to win it again, but I just think I don't know if the hunger will quite be there this season, and they actually do have quite a tough draw. Uh, you know, Ulster and Northampton because they were knocked out in the quarters of the French thing, so they're actually a tier three. So yeah, I think like La Rochelle will probably get to like the quarters, but like I think I reckon like I take a team out because you have to consider like with the fixtures and the pools, the teams they get, who is most likely to rack up the most points. Um, for me, it's like Leinster, Leicester, Toulouse, probably the Bulls. So like they're gonna be so the path to winning the URC is gonna go through them. I just hope the seedings work out so we get the best four teams in the semis. I will break down these games more, but like I predicted like Munster to get to the round of 16 or quarters. Leinster, I don't feel you can force these things. I think like Leinster will win it once or twice in the next 5 years or something, but probably I would imagine I'd be very surprised if I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't at least win one, like another one in the next 5 years. But the thing is that the URC now has a lot more legitimacy with the Springbok teams because it was just like an afterthought Leinster winning it before the domestic before the Springbok teams, but now it actually has serious value like the English league and the French league because a lot of those French teams like look at Cast never seemed to perform in Europe, got pumped in the last 16 of the Challenge Cup by London Irish, and they played London Irish, and they just seem to be a different team in the French league than in Europe. And I'm not even sure, even though they're tier one, they've got London Irish and Edinburgh home and away, two teams ascending, I reckon. So you know, I I I'd be shocked if they won every game. Like the out of all the tier one teams, I believe Cass in theory the most beatable in Europe. Uh, uh, and in like I believe that that's the closest like tier one versus tier four matchups. Like those are going to be pretty very very even games in my estimation between like a London Irish, uh, and Edinburgh versus Cass home and away. Like those are kind of toss up games. Uh, so yeah, like you probably fancy Cass to go far in the French league, like to like a semi final, but they just don't seem to replicate that form in Europe. It's like they're like the opposite of. I'm trying to think if there's a team in there who don't. Yeah, like I mean, to be honest, Munster are probably like close to the opposite of what you get with them. I don't know. I don't know if Munster are gonna go all the way. And it would be interesting to see what signings there is because I reckon like those uh, a lot of the Springbok squad are on like short term contracts in Japan, and I wouldn't be surprised in like November to see like a lot of them like Faf de Klerk, Willie Leroux, uh, like pretty much all of them who are playing in Japan to go to probably most of the Springbok franchises. I expect like the Sharks.
to try to recruit a lot of Springboks, because you have guys like Dale Ende, Faf de Klerk, Quagga Smith, Diager now, Mostert. I actually, if Leinster are serious about winning the URC and the European Cup, I think if you could have like one signing that's kind of like realistic for every team, if every team could have one sign, I think Leinster were kind of exposed in the lock area. Maloney and James Ryan just didn't really match the physicality of Will Skelton. And with the Springbok rule in place, it doesn't matter like where they play; they're still eligible for the national team. I think Leinster should seriously look at a Franco Mostert as like because he can play open side or blind side. He's really a utility back and the second row. Kind of like he can have that kind of Southern Hemisphere influence like Rocky Elsom did. Yeah, I think if you could only sign one player, I reckon like Munster should try to get George Bridge, because he's not getting into the All Black team, and Keith Earls is getting older, and I think George Bridge is looking at suitors, so I think that would improve Munster. Um, I reckon like Conway's getting out of the team in Munster, so a realistic signing for Connacht if Conway wants to try to work his way into the Ireland squad for the World Cup. Because he has, like, let's not forget, Andrew Conway started like that game when Ireland beat the All Blacks in the Aviva last November. So like, if Andrew Conway can get game time, that's maybe his best chance. And I reckon if Munster do that, like that theoretic signing of Bridge, and then they have like Earls and Zebo, and yeah, like that's I think Ulster should Julian Savia hasn't gotten into the All Black teams in years, so I reckon if Ulster have the cash, they should pay that, and that would improve them seriously and make them more of a threat in Europe, potentially a dark horse. So that's all the signings, and let's say like the Sharks strengthen with Faf and Dale Ende. I reckon I reckon the salary cap will only let them like do that, and the Jager goes to the Stormers. That he would suit them. Um, that's all for now. I'll keep you posted on more ideas later.